You're listening to the Kick Your Boots Up podcast, where we swap stories of the West. Whether you're just waking up or getting in for the day, come on in and kick your boots up. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Kick Your Boots Up podcast. Thank you so much for listening week to week. This week's episode is a big one. There's a lot in store. But before we get into it, I've got to remind you to like, subscribe, leave us a review. Again, this sounds like a broken record, but we love listening to your feedback. We want to give you more and more of what you want to listen to and who you want to meet. So feel free to continue sharing your thoughts on the reviews. And without further ado, let's get started on this week's episode. None other than Brett McPherson from Oklahoma is the designer and founder of Designers Brew, based in Oklahoma. And there's a lot in store here, but I've got to give you a little bit of background on this wonderful, wonderful woman. More than 17 years ago, she started her styling career, and she has a design degree from Oklahoma State University. Go Pokes! I'm loyal and true to that as well. Of course, like I said, she's born and raised in Oklahoma, currently lives in Arcadia, Oklahoma right now. And she's always had the dream of owning her own interior design firm. So I know there's a lot of ladies out there that can relate to having a dream and a goal of owning your own whatever one day. So you'll have to hold on to every word she says. She's actually been featured in several publications across the U.S., including Cowgirl Magazine, Architectural Digest, Western Runway. She's been also on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast with Dakota Dawn Johnson. Shout out Dakota, love you lots. She's been featured in Rural Revival and This Is Oklahoma. Lots and lots and lots to talk about here, but really the design is everything about who she is. She believes that injecting her soul into every project is the way to do it, whether it's home or office. And then design is like a core part of who she is. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, meet Brett McPherson.
Hi, everyone. I am so honored to be on. I was very taken away whenever you emailed. So thank you so much. I'm excited about today.
Of course, Brett. Thank you again for being here. I know I saw that off camera, but I'm so appreciative of your time. And something that we should say early on is I just learned this before we got started. You're actually on location at a house right now you said a 5-day install?
Yes. So I blocked off 5 days and I'll see how long it takes. But I am in Westlake, Texas. This is like a perfect clip of our life. So we left last Friday to go to a Martha Josie clinic for the weekend. So we were in Duncan, Oklahoma until Sunday. And then my husband, shout out to him. He is like the best. He took all 3 of my kids back home. And then I left for there to come to Keller, Texas. And so we're staying here through the week. And then I'm packed through next weekend because I'm meeting him at another rodeo on Friday. So that's just how we roll.
Brett, I'm so inspired by you right there, because currently right now I'm a stay-at-home dog mom, or I'm not a stay-at-home, a single dog mom. My husband's out hunting and I am stressed and worried about one dog, just doing all of that.
Sure.
So kudos to you for relying on your husband and being able to be like a travel away wife, mom, but then also I'm sure your guys' roles switch very frequently. So shout out to you guys. And I just got to ask, how do you do it? Balancing the crazy schedule and the constant changing and all the plans with the moving factors, the kids and the animals and everything else to take care of.
So I am a planner. I plan ahead, but I do have awesome helpers. So I always tell everyone, you can do everything, but you can't do it alone. And so you can have big dreams and big goals and accomplish big things, but you have to have people behind you to help. So my husband is also an entrepreneur. He runs his own company. I run mine, and we collaborate on a lot. So we have a lot of balls in motion. And then we have 3 kids. Their ages are 4, 6, and 8. And all 3 of them rodeo. And my husband team ropes. And so it is just kind of crazy a lot of the time, but I'm also very protective of our time. And so we say no to a lot of things. We don't go to everything we get invited to. We miss a lot of the kid birthday parties, for instance. But I mean, before we left last Friday, I packed for 9 days in anticipation that I might not get to go home. And then I already pre-packed them for next weekend. But then we have an awesome nanny that comes, she picks our kids up from school. And then she doesn't always do this, like if I'm home, but she's helping like get dinner prepped before she leaves for the day. So Trey can come home, take care of the animals, and then he doesn't have to worry. Like just we took that off his plate, you know. So it's just a team effort. It's a lot of communication and a lot of planning, and it's a little bit crazy, but I tend to like it that way.
Oh, yes, and I am just commending that all the way around. It seems like you guys have got it figured out, and when you don't, you make game time decisions and it all works out anyway. So that's really cool, and I'm thankful that you shared a little bit more about your personal life so we get to know a little bit more about you too. And I think that's a really relatable. A lot of women out there have the
Yeah.
same, questions, concerns of like, how do you also be a super awesome boss babe and keep life and balance the two? So very, very good. And I guess I want to back up just a little bit to kind of get more into this interview part. Tell me about your degree and how hard you had to work to get there, and everything, maybe even leading up to Oklahoma State and everything at Oklahoma State. Just talk about that a little bit. Did you always know that you wanted to be in design?
I I knew from the fifth grade on, so very early. I had a small time in high school where I thought maybe not design, maybe I want to do be an attorney. So I went to work for an attorney, and then I went to work at the courthouse for a while, and I worked in the court clerk's office. And through that experience, I went to work for an attorney that he went to our church, and I learned very quickly that that was not the lifestyle I wanted to live. And so I switched right back to design. So I had a small hiatus, but it's pretty much always been my plan.
That is actually
And
so relatable to me personally. I wanted to be a news reporter, and then I learned, whoa, I could never do that. Actually, I could never ask people about traumatic things that happen. So, same with you. Law is very different from design, even though it might seem similar to some people. Talk about the differences there and how you made your decision.
I don't really know what piqued my interest in law. It might have been just working at the courthouse. It might have been, I'm not sure where that little seed got planted for sure. I think I probably thought it could be a nice way to provide for my family. But it really just wasn't me. The attorney that I worked for, he did divorce and criminal law. And so I think specifically working with those two particular types of law it just wasn't the lifestyle I wanted. So design, I chose Oklahoma State. At the time, they were in the top 10 rated schools for design, interior design, in the whole nation at the time. That would have been in 2000. Um, I went to college on a scholarship, on a academic scholarship. And so my first year I went to Southwestern. My dad was convinced that I should be a school teacher. I was raised in a household. My dad was a farmer and a rancher, and my mom was a school teacher, which was a great childhood for me. And then he just really thought that's what I should do. And so after 1 year of school there, I was like, Dad, I'm going to Oklahoma State. So then that is a 4 year program. So I squeezed 4 years into 5 in school. It was good.
Yes, that's totally worth it. And I did the
Yeah.
same thing. Exactly. It always takes us a little bit longer, right? You gotta take time to figure out.
I blame it on my dad because I'm like, if you would have let me do this my freshman year, then I would have finished in 4. But that little victory lap, I wouldn't give it back.
Oh, without a doubt. And there's so many times I'm sure you do the same thing. Like homecoming just happened not long ago. You want to go back and you think like, man, I should have enjoyed those times in college, no matter the college. Of course, both of us was OSU, but yeah, you definitely want to, because at the time you think that you have responsibilities and adulting is hard, but then you go to the real world where actually it is hard. um, so
No,
yeah.
I was probably I wouldn't trade this for anything, but college was a very stressful time for me because I did go on an academic scholarship, but everything outside of that I paid for. And so I had 3 jobs throughout college. And so I feel like I didn't really get to experience a lot of that because I was working like a lot. And when I wasn't working, I was in the design lab. And um, I wouldn't give that work ethic back for anything though. And there was no paved road for me at all. And my parents, they bought my books. They gave me about $400 a semester for books. And my dad always let us raise cattle, and then that provided us with a vehicle. We sold our cattle and bought a vehicle when you're 16. So I had a car to drive. They paid for my insurance and my books, and everything outside of that was on me. And so, I mean, that's a lot of waiting tables and a lot of, working here and there to provide that. But so college, I'm not saying I didn't have a lot of fun in college, but looking back, I'm like, I really don't know how I did all that.
Oh yeah. And I'm actually really glad that you said this about the cows because that is the most Oklahoma thing. That's so relatable again, Brett. It's so crazy how much our lives are lining up because our parents that we didn't have, it wasn't to save up for the car. It was to pay for your college, to pay for your education or whatever. And based on, whatever scholarships didn't pay for. So it was a huge relief to know that there was always a savings account until of course the money ran out at the end of your senior, when you're like, okay, this is getting really hard. But anyways, yeah, it's just anyone out there. If you're ever wondering about what it's like to live in Oklahoma, that's exactly it. You just explained it. Working all the time. And it really, I joke about it a lot with my parents, but they really were like the humble beginnings growing up and getting, going through college and the beginning part of like becoming a career woman before that happened. And so I'm curious to know about your humble beginnings too. So tell us about your first few designs, maybe even outside of college. Like you're now a big girl, you made it. What did you learn? What are you not going to do next time? Tell us about all that stuff.
So I would say whenever you're starting out in design, I mean, right now I'm on I don't know, like a 6,000 square foot install, and I had a very healthy budget to furnish this house, but it did not start there. So my first designs were, I mean, people would give me, you have to think this is 17 years ago, but I would take a job with like a $2,000 budget. And so if you gave me a $2,000 budget now, I would say, I'm so sorry, we're not quite a fit. But when you're first starting out, girl, I would take anything. If you trusted me to do your job, I would take anything, and I would take it and I would stretch those pennies as far as I could. And I mean, I did that for a long time. It takes a lot of years to build up to the clientele that I have now. And I have worked hard at it, but it's great though. It's great. So people wanting to start out in design, it is not gravy for a lot of years, and there are a lot of things that you have to do that you don't even like. But it's not about you. It's about the client and what they like and what makes them sing and what they want. So that part's kind of fun though.
Oh, yeah. And you have a front row seat into people's lives because if you're designing their houses, their offices, whatever it may be, that's where they spend most of their time. So do you ever feel the pressure there?
Feel the honor. I don't really feel it as pressure. I feel it as an honor that they've chosen me to really like get inside their head, like really get to know them and learn what makes them tick in a way that they might not even know. I always say that design school should come with a psychology like minor, because you are really if it's a business office, you're kind of tapping into, okay, what makes you perform the best? Like, what is your surroundings saying about you? I recently had two instances where I had older women, their husbands had passed away, and they both moved from a dark, I would say, I will call it cozy, dark, cozy spaces. And we moved them into taller ceilings, light, bright, and airy. And in both of those cases, it has just turned on a light bulb for them. Like their depression has lessened. They're getting out more. They're just more active. And the space that you surround yourself it's important for your psyche, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you kind of tied that together because I couldn't agree more. There's a lot of careers out there that, like my sister is a cosmetologist, for instance, and your hair, your image says a lot about you. So I love that you tied that back into, the design in the home because, yeah, you can definitely have an impact on somebody's life and world and headspace. And you don't even realize it when you pick the color that you pick or the picture on the wall that you pick. And I am just so intrigued by you. This seems like you're like you're the Oklahoma version of Joanna Gaines. That's a huge compliment. You can take something and make it into, I don't know, everyone out there, I encourage you to go look out at Brett's social media, because it just feels like you step into each person's situation, each person's livelihood, each person's story immediately through some of the designs that you've been able to do. So I'm curious, as a storyteller myself, I know this wasn't a question that I had kind of talked to you about, but tell us a little bit about the storytelling side of it. Like, you get to step into people's houses and now get to kind of narrate their story just based on what you've been given them with the interior design. So talk about that. That's got to be so fun, right?
So are you kind of asking like how I kind of tell their story with their spaces?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a perfect for instance for that. So sometimes, more often than not, it kind of surprises people, but the husbands are pushing for their wives to hire me. Like a lot of times. A lot of times the husbands, it surprises people, but men like to have nice clothes, cars, homes, as much as us women do. And when I break it down, people are like, oh, but typically if women are really into interior design, they don't hire a designer, they might appreciate it, but most of my women are more hands-off than you would expect. So a lot of times that is the way it goes. But I have one particular case. Her husband was like, this is dumb. This is a waste of our money. Like, I never met him through the whole process. And he was just like, do it. I don't care. Just, I don't want to hear about it. So it was kind of weird to work in their home, like knowing that. And then we got the home done and she said, okay, I want you to do the show cattle barn. And I'm like, does your husband know this? And she says, I don't care. We're doing it. And I'm like, okay. So he was not rude at all, but he was not welcoming for us to be in his show cattle barn working. But she's like, this is where our clients come. Like they don't need to come to a barn that looks like we don't have our act together. Like this is important for our business and our livelihood. So against his wishes, we did the show cattle barn. And she has told me time and time again, like, he smiles when he enters that room. I mean, I took all of their trophies and all of their banners for the last 20 years and we showcased them, which it kind of might feel weird if you're doing that, like promoting yourself, but for somebody else to come in and say, you have something to be proud of, like, let's showcase this. And it has just, that is one instance that it just made me feel good, because it's like, he didn't really know he wanted that, but he appreciated it when it was done.
Oh yeah, and I know now that he's probably, I don't know, but I would imagine him talking to all of his buddies now, like, look at this statement piece that's now here, based on everything that you did. So good for you.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I mean, really, nobody really knows what they're, especially if they don't have the vision or the interest that you mentioned, if they're hands off on their interior design stuff. That's so cool that you just nailed the peg on the head, and you got it done. And now I'm sure they're telling all their friends about you, and you're probably getting more clients just based on that story. So that is awesome. And that kind of goes into my next few questions for you. I thought that you would be a perfect guest for this week's episode, because it's we're running on Thanksgiving, and what better way to host a holiday event than to talk about the preparation beforehand. There's a lot of people out there, us ladies included, that host parties, and it doesn't have to be Thanksgiving for your family, but it's maybe a Friendsgiving or a Christmas thing, or even New Year's going into the new year. So I guess I'm curious. Tell us, like, the few of your things that are your favorite things that are staples at your house or staples at your clients' houses for Thanksgiving.
Okay. I've struggled with this question because I'm like, how honest am I going to be? So, I told you I grew up in Western Oklahoma, like out on a farm ranch, and we're just not fancy people, and we have our immediate family is 14. And so when we have extended family, I mean, we're feeding 45 to 60 people easy. That's like on my dad's side of the family. My mom's side, we could easily have like 100, if we're going to be entertaining. So the whole like beautiful tablescape with like the chairs and the linens, that's not a reality in the home where we celebrate Thanksgiving. And so I was contemplating this question, and I'm like, I just think that we should talk about what's your style? What's your personality like? And maybe like 3 different ways, because it is a dream of mine to have this beautiful tablescape, use the china that we got in our wedding. And I think it's important for my small children to grow up having those memories like, hey, this is a special occasion. So one thing that is important for my husband and I, we always get dressed for Thanksgiving dinner, like we don't come in sweats, like we honor the day in that way. I know that like going to church casually dressed is totally acceptable and I am on board for that. But for us personally, we get dressed. We get dressed like we're going to church in the 80s, it's like that is our way to kind of respect the church. And we feel that about Thanksgiving. So you can have paper plates, you can do whatever that makes your house sing. But I think preparing food in advance is so important to make the stress of that day less. Friendsgivings are so popular right now. So I am an advocate for the dollar store, Five Below, Family Dollar. Like it's amazing what you can find there. So go get some candles. You can get dollar candles. You can get inexpensive candlesticks. Candles and like little pumpkins go a long way. Like if you don't have a lot of money to spend, go get the pumpkins that you put on your front porch, wash them off, put them down your table with some topiary candles, and it will look so cute. So you don't have to spend a lot of money for it to be cute. Even if you're going to get like the basic paper plates, go get fancy, cute napkins, go to TJ Maxx or Home Goods. You don't have to spend a ton of money, but you can't make it. I think it's so important not to make it such a stressful day. And some people are very concerned that their house is all put together for people to come over. Nobody cares. Like we're all just living, like getting by day to day. I mean, nobody is going to judge you for that. So just open up your doors, have people come in, and just make it about congregation and don't stress about the small stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if that's very Joanna Gaines advice, but that's my advice.
Well, you're the Oklahoma version, so it's the best. And yes, say it for the people in the back. I'm so happy that you said that and that you were real about it. There are so many people out there, myself included, my family included, that we're just focused on the people because we don't get to be all together very often.
That's all it's about.
Yes. And so even
gratitude, like have gratitude, be thankful those people are there, and nothing else matters.
Yes, girl. No, I completely agree. Especially, I'm so glad you brought in the TJ Maxx and the home good stuff. I was just there the other day and was like, do I really want to spend $4 on these cute little napkins? And then I was like, $4? Yes, I do. Like, let's do this. So I really love that. And I guess I got to ask you then too, because you said that you have a bigger family naturally, just with your immediate family. So would you do anything different for like a big family versus a small family? Is there anything that you could talk on there in terms of like, even, I know that you'll relate to this too, since we have just a very relatable upbringing, but whenever the family does come over, you start pulling chairs from everywhere. You pull them from the shed, they're folding. It doesn't really matter what they look like. So I guess tell us a little bit about your opinion there, small family versus big family, things you would change, stuff like that.
So if I were entertaining just for my personal family, like I said, I would probably have a more beautiful tablescape, and, I would focus more on what that looked like. But when we have our whole family, it is like BYOC. Okay. Like bring your own chair. Okay. Like we don't have enough chairs for all of you. And that is the actual truth. I mean, we did it in our barn alleyway one year, and we literally said, bring tables, bring chairs. We're going to pop them up. And then I had like cheap tablecloths. Oh, another tip is to go to Party City, because even though they don't cost a lot, you can just get orange or brown or whatever you want to do, like solid paper plates with matching plastic silverware. It just it doesn't really cost more, but it just looks prettier. So if you did that with some TJ Maxx cute napkins, it's like, oh, this is cute. And you didn't spend a lot of money. So I I am just a wing it girl. I don't over plan. I don't overthink. I always have this dream of this beautiful Friendsgiving, and I like rent the pretty chairs and the tables and the linens and all the things. And maybe I'll do that someday, but it is not going to be while my kids are 4, 6, and 8, because there is just not time for that.
Oh no, and you guys are rodeo and you're here, there, everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at the point in life, I'm like, where can I order a turkey? I don't have time to cook a turkey.
You know what? That's actually, we're going to talk about that a little bit too, since you brought that up. It's actually becoming a thing now to have maybe a non-traditional Thanksgiving. I know a lot of families out there are having like multiple Thanksgiving dinners. You got to go to his side,
Yeah.
her side, all the
Mhm.
things. And so a lot of people now are even doing like a Mexican themed Thanksgiving or a Italian dinner. And so I love that too, the flexibility there. And I feel like you mentioned winging it. I feel like that's kind of what you have to do when you're in a creative space, when you're given something like you're given these four walls and then told to run. So I guess, but as we tie up the whole Thanksgiving questionnaire, what's your number one best piece of advice to leave us on in terms of for Thanksgiving? The one thing that if nothing else works, when all else fails, this is what you need to remember for Thanksgiving. What would it be?
Enjoy one another.
That's good.
Just enjoy your company.
Yeah.
So,
No.
but I don't think you can have Thanksgiving without stuffing. That's just me personally. My
Okay.
mom's is the best. I don't care who you are.
Is it
So, I mean,
homemade or is it out of a box?
oh, nothing my mom does is out of a box. I mean, not even her mac and cheese. So I am all for flexibility. It's not really about the food, but I also, my dad, one year we did have like a Mexican themed Christmas dinner. He was salty about it. Okay. He's like, no, I get turkey and dressing twice a year, and we like this was a miss. And so, I'm all for it's not about the food, but I do think it's worth that extra effort. And even if you don't love the kitchen, just creating those memories. And I do love tradition, and I just think you can make your own tradition, whatever that looks like for you, but just gather, enjoy one another's company. And if it makes it too stressful to do all that, just don't. I mean, a couple of years ago, we went to my mother-in-law's, and she does not enjoy cooking. And she called, I think it was one of the grocery stores in Dallas, but you could order like the whole Thanksgiving dinner for like $200. And it was great. I mean, we still got all of the things, like nobody stressed about cooking. It was kind of nice actually, but we still had traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and she didn't do something she hated and lived in the kitchen. And my mom's different, she's like cooking for a month ahead and freezing it. So it's just like easy and done. And I would say just don't fight who you are, and just don't overthink it and don't stress.
So well said. And your obsession with stuffing is so agreeable. I mean, it's probably one of those controversial topics actually, because people either love it or hate it. But around our household, our Aunt Stacy, I've got to give her a shout out too. She always makes or made growing up like a sweet potato casserole. And so as now that my sister and I are, older, my sister has her own kids, we're just able to start contributing to dinner. I've kind of made it like, okay, I'm going to make Aunt Stacy's sweet potato casserole. And last year I bombed it and my sister called me out. So that's when you talk about the seriousness of the stuffing, it's so true.
True. You might need to practice ahead a little bit if you're taking a dish that important, you're gonna need to do some test trial runs, okay? Because you can't disappoint on that day.
Well said. I couldn't agree more. I'm going to be testing it out and trying all the things before we even get to Thanksgiving. I'll be sick of it before it even starts, but that's okay. Everyone
Yeah.
else will love it.
Yeah.
So I can't talk to you, or I can't not talk to you, or talk to you and not mention Designers Brew in your business. I mean, anyone who's followed you for a while understands how much love and I would say joy and passion you put into every project. And so kind of tell us just, in the beginning, tell us about like the scope of your business and what you get to do every day and what it all entails for everyone out there listening.
My assistant will tell you, Britton Wallace is my assistant, and she's great. And she says, I love my job because we never do the same thing 2 days in a row. I mean, it is always different. And I love that. It really depends what stage of the process, because a lot of people think that we just kind of pick out furniture and wall color. And that is probably, or I've had assistants come on board and they think that we just do installs all the time. Well, that is not the case. Like when you come time to an install, I've been working on that project more than likely for 2 years or more. And it's like, what? Like how? But people come to me before they ever have floor plans, and I work with them through what's important to you. How does your laundry room function? How does your office function? How does your, bedroom situation function? And so I'm really getting to know them before we've ever put a floor plan on paper, to help that lifestyle that works well for them flow. And what's important for a kids area, what's important for an office, like all of those different things. I'm just like asking questions that they're like, why are you asking me that? And so we work to get the floor plan perfected. And then through a lot of times I'm in the process of helping pick their builder, or in this particular case, I just do all of this builder stuff here in Texas, and he's great and we just work well together. So, but that's not always the case. But I mean, I'm here from floor plan stage through the entire selection process, through building, through all of the furnishing stage. And I used to do a lot of new construction that I didn't furnish the homes, but I really love to see a project through the very end, like through drape install, bedding, down to every last detail. So I really try and not take projects that I don't get to see all the way through. So I love that part, that last final part, because if you don't finish that part, it's just not done.
Yeah, and I can really tell that that's really your signature, I would say, your secret sauce. It's something that you definitely pour yourself into, and the little
Mhm.
finishing touches, I mean, literally that you've been able to picture from the very beginning, they do pay off in the end. It does make the look more finished. But I'm curious too, because I remember you saying during college you worked so hard, 3 jobs, you got yourself through it. And then whenever you graduated, you got to start your own business and all that stuff. So tell us about how you started your business, because a lot of us listening out there are just right there in that stage where we're either trying to buy homes, we're about to buy homes, starting our own businesses. We've maybe worked in corporate a while and now we're ready to go on our own. Just tell us about your best advice and how you did it there.
I would say, if you've ever listened to my podcast, you've heard me say it before, but just don't live above your means. Um, don't drive a fancy car. Don't overcommit to a house. Just, just don't live above your means, because I took a job out of college, and this was a long time ago. This was in 2005, and I was making well over 100,000 a year selling houses, and I was good at selling houses, but I didn't like it. I mean, I did not like it. And I just knew I could make really good money, but that doesn't mean that I would love what I did. And I felt like I was selling my soul every day that I went to work and hated my job. I mean, life's just too short for that. So, I had bought a house, but I'd bought a very affordable house. And whenever I bought the house, I had a new car. It wasn't a fancy car, but I had a new car. I had a house payment, and I had a Chihuahua. And whenever I made those choices, I knew someday I wanted to quit and do my own design thing. And so I always kept my balance sheet to where if I had to go wait tables again, like I did through college, I could make my bills. And so that's what I did. I went to work at the Lazy E in the cantina, and I worked there for events. And it was the perfect gig to start your own business, because I could work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then I could go and work up in the cantina like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I still to this day, I'm like, go work at the cantina, because you can make some really good money. So I could go and work there 2 weekends a month and pay all my bills, and then just focus on growing the business. And I think you need a backup plan to do that, like to jump off and just totally commit to, your business and just give it your all. I think you have to financially know you can make it, but I think I probably did that for 2 or 3 years, and then I was able to give that up. But just make smart financial decisions because you are not going to make it overnight. So that's my advice.
I am in awe of your advice and so appreciative because finances are a big part of it and they're a big part of everything right now. I mean, interest rates are just soaring out of the roof when it comes to purchasing a home, and everything. It just seems to be going up. Everything with inflation is just getting more and more expensive. So I know that's a big topic right now, especially for us young ones that are just trying to get started, 20s, 30s, 40s, even with houses and careers and all of that. So thank you for taking the time to pour yourself into that answer because I think that was really big and a bunch of us are able to get more from that. But I'm genuinely curious. I know we're almost out of time, but I got to have some fun too. So I'd love to know, have you ever designed for anyone famous? And if you haven't, who would you like to design for?
I wouldn't say I've designed for anyone famous. I did get a fun call, but it didn't go anywhere. Co-Wetzel's manager called me to do his house, and I was like, his real estate agent connected us, and it didn't end up going anywhere. And I just prayed about that because Co and I don't really see eye to eye on a lot of parts of life. And so I'm like, God, if this is your will, let it be done. But it didn't. So anyway, that's totally fine. But that was kind of fun to get that phone call. So no, I haven't ever done anyone. No, I did someone that owned a really large restaurant chain, and it was kind of silly. Like, they kept his identity secret, and it was kind of dumb. And I was like, okay, he just owns a restaurant chain. Like, it's not like it's Garth Brooks or something. So no, I haven't yet, but I do believe I will someday.
I definitely too. And I'm cheering for you in that direction. Who do you think? I mean, one thing that I always did as a dreamer, as a little girl, I'd be like, if I don't become a celebrity, I'm gonna drive the bus for someone that's famous or something like that. So
Right?
so who is your like dream? Like tomorrow, if they called, you would do it and love it, and you guys would just vibe really well, your styles would mesh. Who would that be? Would that be like a Miranda Lambert type, a Carrie Underwood, someone different?
So I'm gonna kind of take it a different direction, but I
Oh.
really think that Ree Drummond and I could have a lot of fun together. I
Oh
think
my
that
gosh.
I just think that we would have a blast. And whoever she uses for her design does a great job. Like, I don't know who she's using, but I'm like, y'all are doing great. You're killing it. But I do think that we would have a lot of fun together. Obviously, George Strait. I mean, George and I, we could totally make some cool things happen. We'll get his life involved. And like, I just think that that would be obviously a bucket list item for sure. But some of these, red dirt guys up and coming. And I mean, Trevor Brazil, that would be cool. That would be really, really cool. Dale Brisby, I'm like, Dale, I've seen your studio. Let's up that a little bit. We can do better, like Dale, it just fits his persona though. And I'm just
Yes.
like, but you any of those people that I'm not really a fame person. I'm not just that doesn't really get me giddy, but those people I listed, I'm like, I know we would get along.
And you listed real people too. That's what I am learning about you, that your personality just goes along. I mean, we got to go back to Ree Drummond, the pioneer woman, for those of you out there that aren't familiar. Us Okies were like, yes, Ree. And it's really cool now being in Texas, having everyone that's like, oh yeah, I went to Pahuska the other day. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, you did. That's my backyard.
So cool.
And so, yeah, I really agree with you there. I think going back to the beginning when I talked about telling people's story, I think Ree is a perfect example of like telling a story through interior design. She creates like this homey, mommy
Yeah.
feeling. And I think I agree. You'd be really good at that. So if anyone is listening with any of the people that she mentioned, if you're listening out there, please call
Yes.
her.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And speaking of that, where can people find you? Tell us all your social channels, your website. How can they get to follow your story more? All of it. Plug yourself away right here.
Okay. So it is simple. We keep it simple. It's Designers Brew. So Instagram and Facebook are our most common channels. I just don't have time to keep up with all of them. So Instagram and Facebook are really our two babies. So Designers Brew is our handle on both of those. That's designers with an S. And then our website is just designersbrew.com. So you can find us any of those ways. We just launched a private furniture line. And so you'll see lots of kinks being worked out of our website. I'm starting that business from the ground up simultaneously, which has been so fun. I'm so excited. I'm just going to throw this out there. We just learned today that one of our custom ottoman designs, I think it's Slick by Design is what we named that one, is going to the NFR, and it's going to be in the Bloomer trailer booth. So if you're going to Vegas, go by the Bloomer trailer booth and you'll see one of our brand new pieces. It's got like this custom cactus design all the way around it. It is so fabulous in person. So that's one of our partnerships that we did. It was a collaboration design with Riley at Savannah Sevens, and I'm super excited about that. So if you're going, go see the Bloomer booth.
I can't wait. I'll be texting you pictures too. I'm so excited to go see it in person. And well, I was going to say something else too, because speaking of that, you have the opportunity to do all kinds of things with furniture too. And I think people need to understand that too. Like, so for instance, I fell in love with, naturally, since we're a boot company, I love boots. I fell in love with your bar stools that have the like boot bug on the back. I think that was such a good Western touch. So keep doing that. That's awesome. I think that was also part of Savannah Sevens too. Wasn't it? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. See, there's just all kinds of cool stuff. And so you're not just interior design. You also get to have really big parts of the conception, like you said, of the house building and the floor plans and everything that's working functionality wise. But then also you have the opportunity, if you work with Brett, to have that collaboration of designing a new, whatever you need, whatever you want it to be. So yes, that's very, very cool. Brett, I am so in awe of you. I'm so in awe of everything that you do in the industry. And I cannot say thank you enough for being on this podcast and taking the time out of your busy day that you've set aside to finish this install. So thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Kick Your Boots Up. I'm your host, Taylor McAdams, and we can't wait to share the next story of the West. Until then, feel free to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Justin Boots to keep up with our next episode. And we'll see you the next time you kick your boots up.